What's going on, guys? So today I've got to change out the throttle position sensor on my truck. At least I think I do. I've been having some issues with it idling. The truck idles really high at like over 1,000 RPM, especially when I'm in park. So when I'm shifting from park into reverse or drive, it kind of jolts because it's not supposed to be idling that high. And then even like when I'm in drive, the truck, like just wants to like push itself forward. And I think that's just because it's allowing more air in than it should be through the throttle. From what I've been reading, it's probably because the throttle position sensor, which I think is the original one on the truck. So, I mean, 20 years and 300,000 miles later, I can change that out. I'm not mad about that. But yeah, it's like I'm having to use more brake pedal pressure because the truck is trying to push itself forward. So it's not really hard to change these. You do have to move a thing or two around to get to it. So it's not like you're in and out. You do have to do a little tweaking, but other than that, it's pretty straightforward. So here's the part here. I got it from AutoZone. That's where I usually buy my parts from. I forget how much it was. I'll look it up and show you right here how much it costs. Part number is TPS 140VC. And this is the ValueCraft one. I don't usually buy ValueCraft. But I wasn't really paying attention when the guy gave me the part at the store. I usually buy the Duralast brand because that's just what I've bought over the last 10 years. They usually have lifetime warranties, and it's usually only like a $5 or $10 difference between the cheapest brand and the next step up. The ValueCraft only came with a 1-year warranty, so I'd recommend getting the Duralast if you have the extra, I think like 10 bucks to spare. But yeah, this is what it looks like. It's really small, simple. This goes onto the side of the throttle body, and then this plugs into the connector. It's right by the alternator. So right here is where the throttle position sensor is. So as you can see, it's right on top of the engine, kinda, sorta. But you've got to do one of two things to get it out. You could either undo the throttle body and pull the throttle body out some, but the issue with that is there's coolant lines hooked up to the throttle body. So I think there's one right here. So to avoid just spilling coolant, I'm going to instead pull the serpentine belt off and just take this one bolt out and shift the alternator over. It's really easy. The belt is just held on by this tensioner pulley right here. Tensioner pulley right there. So I'm gonna have to take this off, which I don't like because this is an aftermarket air intake, and I don't like this air tube that came with it. It's hard plastic and it's not really malleable. It doesn't move. Doesn't have much room to give, and it doesn't fit exactly on this, so I need to replace this anyway. But it's always a pain in the ass when I'm trying to take it off. I even have to cut a notch in my fan, like my fan shroud, just to make room for it. So I'm gonna take this off, and all you need to do that is either just a small like 8mm ratchet, or you can just get a flathead screwdriver. Undo this here. I'm not sure what it'll look like on yours because you'll probably have a stock one, but it should be the same thing. Just undo these, take this out, and then I'll get a breaker bar to get the serpentine belt off. All right. Just like that. This comes off. So you see here, Again, TPS is right there. So this is the tensioner pulley. So we're just gonna get a bolt on that. I want to say this is a 15. Get a socket on that, I'm sorry. 15 on here. I believe we're gonna go clockwise, and then we're just gonna, we don't need to do much because we're not pulling the belt entirely off the assembly. We're just gonna get it off of this idler pulley right here, and then get it off. Once we get it off this, it'll get enough tension off to pull it off of here, and that's all we need to do. That way, when it's time to put the belt back on, all you gotta do is put it back on the alternator and slide it up underneath here. This is the last pulley you should put the belt on. The reason why is because all of the all the drive accessories like the alternator, the power steering pump, anything that the belt runs, they all have grooves, and they're like, as you see, it sits recessed in there. Whereas here, doesn't have that, it's not grooved, it just slides on and off. It's a smooth surface, so it's easier to do it that way. Oh, this isn't the breaker bar. Yeah, you don't even need a breaker bar. A ratchet will do fine. The tension isn't that bad on here. And I don't know if you can see that, but so when I put the tension on there, this was on there, and then I just pulled it off. So now that that's off from there, it actually just slid off of this automatically. So just make sure that you get it off of here, and then I'll show you guys the diagram. You won't see it on my truck because of the plastic cover that goes here I took off, because I'm always in and out of here doing stuff. I've got HID lights in here, there's wires ran, so I'm always in here. But I'll show you a diagram on how to put it back together. It's really simple. All right, so we're gonna get this alternator off. So like I said, I'm gonna undo this bolt here, which I think is also a 15 millimeter. Easy. So the way the alternator works is it just sits in these little grooves here, this whole piece, and these bolts go through it. So all I got to do is pull one out, and then I can shift the whole thing over. You'll see what I'm talking about in a second. I'm not going to take the entire alternator out. I'm just going to undo this one on the left side, and I'm going to kind of lift it. I'm going to unplug it first, but I'm going to lift it up and go that way. That'll give me enough room to get in here and get this TPS out. So we'll go back to what I was doing. All right, so put that somewhere safe. Got a little magnetized tray. Just gonna put that there. Sit it on the fuse box. Go ahead, and there's a connector here on the back of the alternator that you need to undo, and you also need to undo this wire from the back of the alternator. This is the one that runs from the alternator to the battery. At this point, I would probably recommend undoing the negative on your battery, just so you don't hurt yourself or damage any of the electronics inside of the car. I think it's an 8. Yeah, that way. All right. All right, negative is undone. That way you don't have to worry about shorting out anything, killing yourself, none of that kind of stuff. All right, so now I want to say this is a 10 millimeter nut. Let's see if that fits. Yes, it does. So I'm gonna undo that. So be careful with this. Wait, is that tightening it? Yes, it is. Duh, stupid. Because often this piece here, the wire from the battery will want to go in the direction that you're turning it, but you don't want to like damage. God damn it. Matter of fact, you don't want to damage this this connector. There we go. So I'm just gonna take a little vice grip here so I can hold this just so it doesn't move. There we go. Okay, so now that that's done, you can pull this off, this ring terminal. Just kind of push it off to the side, down. The reason why you want to disconnect the negative is because once you disconnect this is a 12-volt wire and it is live. So if it touches anything like the brackets here or anything that's metal, it can ground out and it can spark, and that's dangerous. So that's why you want to do that. All right, now that that's out, I think that's everything that's plugged into the alternator. See if I can shift this forward. Might need to get like just gonna find the biggest screwdriver I have. And so I'm just lifting up, and the alternator's moving. It probably helped to hit like some WD-40 on these points right here, because it's just wedged in between this metal piece and that metal piece, so a little lubrication couldn't hurt. Matter of fact, let's just go see if I have some somewhere. I've got some WD-40 now, so I'm just going to hit right there and back there. And I'm even gonna hit this one a little bit too, because it's gonna need to be lubed up enough to swivel. Usually you want to let that sit for a few minutes. The longer you let it sit, the better. But I'm not trying to be out here all day, so just gonna keep on keeping on. There we go. Like butter. That was all I needed. There we go. Perfect. So that's not gonna go anywhere. Now you see there's plenty of room to get to the throttle position center. So undo that, plug right there, and it looks like it's a Torx bit. T20. All right, back. Had to go get a 1/4 inch ratchet for my thing. So I'm gonna leave you there. First one's out. Okay, so you should just, yeah, like so. Where's my new one? So you can see this is the old one that just came off. This is the new one. They look almost identical. Yeah, I mean, I'm not seeing anything immediately that could be causing issues. Maybe the seal, possibly. But yeah, it's a really simple piece. It's made out of plastic. Yeah, so we're gonna toss that one and put that one in, like so. Is it going in all the way? I guess it will once I screw it in. So we're gonna get that started. Now get the second one started just to hold it in place. So you can see, unplug that so you can just see what I'm doing. I'll plug it all back in when I'm done. Alright, so it's hand tight. There. You don't have to like go super ridiculous on the tightening. Just make sure it's got a good, good seal, because you don't want to strip the screws. Yeah, so once that's done, this is for the alternator. I just unplugged this and that. This with the purple on it is what goes back here on the TPS. And that's it. So I'm just gonna put the alternator back down, throw the bolt back in there, connect the wires back on here, hook the battery back up, put this bad boy back on with the belt, and then we're good. I'm using a rubber mallet just to kind of beat it back in there, because it doesn't really do any damage to the pieces. It doesn't really hurt the metal. It works better than a regular hammer in a situation like this, because you don't want to actually damage the component that you're trying to put back into place. So yeah, just tap it back in with a rubber mallet. Just doesn't have enough charge to. It's cool. Once I'm done with this, I'll jump it. That's not going anywhere. Unplug this cable back in. There we go. Make sure you hear it click. And here. Just need to get this bolt back on. I hate that dog. Just barks all day, every day. Get my vice grips back on here. Back my 10mm. This is what I was saying, just make sure you keep it to where it's tight, but you don't want it to where while you're turning it, because what'll happen is this wire will try to twist with the nut. So just, I use the vice grip to hold the bottom part to keep it in place. Then just put the rubber boot back on there. Like I said, that is a live wire. Once you put the battery back up, you don't want it sparking out and shorting out on anything. Probably leave the car running. Okay, now that the alternator is back in, it is wired back up. I'm actually gonna put the battery back on last, just to be super safe. We need to get the belt back on. So yeah, so the at the very bottom is the crankshaft, which has the harmonic balancer on it. The belt goes underneath that, and then from there it loops all the way up. It hits the tensioner pulley. It goes down up underneath the idler pulley, goes back on top of the alternator. Then it goes down to the power steering pump. Then when it goes down to the power steering pump, it loops up underneath it, and it comes back and goes over the water pump. So I know that sounds really complicated, but I'm gonna post a diagram so you can see. Again, it should be like right here in the front of your truck anyway. I think it differentiates the different engine sizes. This is a 5.3. I think the 5.3 and the 4.8 are the same diagram, and it's different for the V6. So yeah. Just gonna make sure when you're doing this, especially when you're tightening the tension, that the belt is in the grooves. Like these have grooves in them. Make sure they're recessed in the pulley. Here as well. Like I said, this is the last pulley because it's smooth and it's easy to get it on. Just double check, make sure it's on everywhere it's supposed to be. With my ratchet one more time. About to get ratchet with my ratchet. And I'm just getting a good start here. There. So once I have that there, hold that. This is why I say you need two hands for this part. So I'm up on the tensioner, getting the tensioner back up underneath the pulley. Now this is why I say make sure it's in the grooves before you let go of the tensioner pulley, because that's going to put tension back on the belt, and if it's in the wrong spot you could damage it. Alright, so just let go, like that. Belt is back on where it needs to be. There, There, it's in the grooves. Boom, 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 boom. It's in the groove down there. We're good to go. All right, that's the hard part. The easy part for you, which is usually the hard part for me, is getting this sucker back on here, but that's a me problem, not a car problem. It's because my air intake is hard plastic and stupid and doesn't fit all the way on. And maybe I'll do a video when I finally I'll either replace the air take. I'll replace the air take completely and get something different, or I'll keep the volant, however you pronounce it. I'll keep this, but I'll replace the tube and maybe even go back to the stock air intake tube that came with the truck. I think I threw mine away because I'm an idiot. I gotta work on getting this back in. This, for you, it should just slide right on. You tighten this here, you tighten these here. For me, it's a little harder. So give me a sec, I'll be right back. To take my friend's shroud off. Figured I'd go ahead and show you guys without the fan shroud being on the pulley setup. So again, belt goes over the alternator, under power steering pump, back up over the water pump, back down underneath the harmonic balancer, and then it goes back up, comes all the way up, hits the tensioner pulley underneath the idler pulley. That's it. I had to take the fan shroud off to be able to get this thing back on. It's so stupid. So give me a few more minutes. All right, guys, so I finally got the fan shroud and the air intake hose back on. So the only other thing I need to do is hook up the battery. So let's just double check. I double checked the belt, so make sure your belt is on correctly. Make sure the alternator is plugged back up. Make sure everything that you unplugged, the TPS, the throttle, you really don't need to unplug this. 1, 2, 3. Make sure this is back on. Make sure it's tight. Make sure it's tight. It's not going anywhere. Okay. That is that should be everything. So just to be sure, you can always just double check your bolt tray. No extra bolts. So don't ask why there's a bullet in there. Okay, so yeah, I'm just gonna hook this bad boy back. Okay, gonna hook this bad boy back up. Put my 8mm wrench on there. All right, so we are done. Okay, so we are good to go. Sandrock should be running better than ever. Go ahead and get in, and usually when I start it, like as soon as it starts, the RPMs just jump up to like right here. Now usually when your car is idling, it should be like right here. So at this point, like, that's what I mean when I say the car is basically trying to drive itself because it's pulling in so much air. It's idling a lot higher than it should be. So we should be looking for idles somewhere around 400 to 500, I think. I'll look up the spec and see what it is. I imagine it's idling a lot higher because I just started it. This is a cold start. Once it runs for a little while, it should dip back down below 500 RPM. All right, so I took it for a spin around the block, and as you can see, as you can't see, we are right around 500 RPM, which is really where I want it to be at. Sometimes it dips a little lower than that, but 500 is fine. Took it for a spin around the block. Kind of get up. And running like a sewing machine, man. All right, so overall, this job is pretty easy to do. Shouldn't cost you any more than about, I mean, if you're including you buying, like if you just need the part, I think the part's like $35. I think it's like $45 if you get the one that comes with the lifetime warranty from AutoZone. And then just throw in another $30-40 if you don't have any of the tools. I'll give a breakdown of the tool list and everything that I use to do this. If you take out me having a stupid air intake and having to take the fan shroud off and everything, you can get this done in a half hour, hour tops if you've just never done this before. And do it on a Saturday or Sunday or a day after work. I wouldn't do it before work because you don't want to be stuck, stranded, but that's it. First, that should really change. Like, I was having a lot of issues driving it, so we should be good. I drive Sandrock every day. Got a lot of content with just changing, you know, doing how-tos. I did a how-to on a Mustang, on the Mustang, changing out slave cylinder, master cylinder, the brake pedal, one of those things. And I got a lot more views on that than I thought I would. So if you guys like that video and you want to see more stuff like that, let me know. Comment down below, like and subscribe, all that good YouTuber crap. All right, I'll holla at y'all.